Welcome back. In this video we're going to have a look at how to scan barcodes within a PDF document using the PDF management tool. In a previous step, if you'll remember, we used the tool to create this database which had a path and a result file, a single page file from a split result or a split action where we split a multi-page PDF batch into individual pages. What we want to do now is we want to go and have a look for barcodes on those pages. So one of the pages would look something like this. Let's just open up one of those pages. Let's have a look at the first page, again using Adobe Reader. And there we can see we have a barcode. Now what is that barcode? Well, that barcode, as we will see now, is the same as that number of the document, 10001. Now let's open up this little task and see what the actions within, or the steps within that task is going to be. We're going to first of all query the table. That's this table here, the documents table. We're going to extract from that all the path and file, the rows containing those two pieces of information. And what are we going to do with that? If we open up our PDF tool, we're going to use that record set as the input to this tool, and two of the fields that we're going to extract from that record set are going to be used as the path in the file, so we can actually locate the document that we're going to be working with. Now notice this. In the previous video we showed that we had that option selected. Now we're going to scan for barcodes. If you scan for barcodes, this additional group appears here of operations or properties that you can use. These are the different types of barcode or formats of barcode that you can scan for using this tool. Now I know for a fact that the barcode that is in those documents is the standard good old code 39. You can use any of these other types, but if you know the type of code that you're going to be looking for, it's best to select just that code and not a whole bunch of other codes, because the chances are that it's going to search for other barcodes types within that document. It probably won't find them, but your operation is going to take longer. And if it does find something, it might give you a false read. Alright, so this is something you want to play with. Make sure you can only check that one if that is an option. That would be the best one. Just know what format to look for. Check that one only, and things are going to work a lot better. What's going to happen with that? Well, we're going to use a little run VB script step. We're going to just log some information, just the counts that are output from that step, and we're going to make use of the memory function here. Once again, what are we going to do with it? We're going to use the file name as the key, and then we're going to save the barcode or any barcode that might come from that document, be detected and scanned in that document. We're going to take that barcode and we're going to save it into the record set, into the barcode column. Okay? Not very complicated. There's a lot that happens behind the scenes to do that. Now let's queue that, let it run. There you can see it's working through the different pages. Okay, that's done. That was quite quick, wasn't it? Okay, so let's go and have a look at the result. This is what we actually want to see. We want to see something in this column now. What has happened? And indeed, there we go. We have a barcode that's been read from each page, except that one there. Remember, that page contained nothing else, only that little bit of overflow text, so we don't expect to find a barcode on there. Indeed, there wasn't one. But here we do have them. Now you'll notice that some of the barcodes on different documents are the same. Why would that be the case? 1009, for example. What else is the same barcode? Boom, 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 boom. 6 and 6, also the same. What's going on here? Let's go and have a look. was 6, right? Let's have a look. In fact, you know what, it's going to be easier if we go to the original batch and have a look there. Let's just scale that down so we can see what's going on. So we want to look for number 6 and see why that might appear more than once. So there's an invoice with that number in it. Aha, and then we have a delivery note, obviously, for that same document. Okay, so this is the delivery note for that invoice number, and there's no pricing on that delivery note. And if we go further on, we will find for 1009 exactly the same thing. We have a delivery note and we have an invoice. Alright, so that's why we have this barcode number appearing multiple times in here and not being unique. Now what we want to do is we want to fill in the rest of the information here from those documents. How are we going to get that information? Well, the only thing we can use is optical character recognition. Alright, that's going to be the next thing that we're going to try. OCR scan areas from record set and update the database. What sits in there? Let's go and have a look. Again, we're going to query the database. This is going to be exactly the same as previous. We're going to use the documents table. Alright, and we're going to go and pull out essentially the path on the file. ID is not really essential, but we can pull it out, because in this case the file is the key. Alright, so we're going to read the database again, and let's just double click that. We're going to use the input to this tool, or to this step. It's going to be the record set from there. What are we going to do with it? We're not going to do scan for barcodes. We're going to scan for text using optical character recognition. Now when you click on this, there's a number of options that are presented to you. Let's have a look at this. First of all, in this little group box down the bottom here, magnification. Now, it's a fact that when you try to scan through an image which contains text, the smaller the image is, the more difficult it is for optical character recognition to identify particular characters, one from the other, particularly if they're below the 20 pixels height. In fact, it becomes almost impossible to do so. So one way to make this a little more accurate is to magnify the original image. This stretches everything on that image and makes the recognition much better. But there is a limit. That's why this tool will limit you to 5. You can blow it up 5 times bigger than the original was, but I found that somewhere between 3 and 5 is about the best. So we'll put it at 4 and see how that works. If you go to bigger than 5, the size of the image becomes huge, and then the time to scan it takes longer, and in fact you could run out of memory at the same time. So we don't want to go above 5. Now, in addition to that, how do you want to see the results of that scan? Notice these outputs here, these radio boxes. These are options that are available to you. Do you want to output each area as a new document? Do you want to output the results as a record set? Now, how could you output an OCR data result as a record set? Well, that depends on this. Watch here. If I uncheck the scan defined areas only, then you only have that option. The text that's contained within that PDF document is going to be output as a new text only type document. However, if you go ahead and you say, I'm going to define areas to scan, then you have a bunch of other options. This will make more sense if we go and click on this option here. You notice there it says, let's go and define the areas to scan. Let's click on that and see what we get. Some buttons at the bottom. Delete area, add area to scan, add a sample image, test your scan, and then save it. So this is the first thing that you do, is you want to add something onto this work surface. Alright, we're going to go and take, for example, page 1 of our split batch. Okay. What it'll do now is it'll take, whatever it finds in the document, and it's going to present it for you here. You can now go ahead and you can define areas that you want to scan. Alright? If you click on an area that has already been defined, you'll see it outlined in red here. Right? That becomes the active one. And then each of these little areas can be moved. So for example, have a look at that one there. You can see that that area is now, it's not quite capturing the invoice number correctly, so we might want to move that. Right? So let's just see if we can move this. We'll move it down a little bit like that so that it gets the whole thing. And that one is getting, it's getting your customer number, but it's maybe getting a little bit more than it should. Alright? Let's just move that down. If you add a new area, for example, like this, you can give it a name, any name that you decide. Let's say, for example, this could be the customer address. Okay. Address, that's how you spell it, customer address. You don't want to put any spaces in there. Now you'll notice here's a new area that just gets plonked in the middle there. Now you can take that and you can move it around. This is moving it over the document that you're busy working with. Okay, now you've defined it. In this case we don't want to do that because we don't have a field in our database to collect that information. So we're not going to, we'll delete that. Alright, delete that area. Are you sure you want to delete customer address? We're saying yes. Okay, now what you can do also to check whether you're on the right track is to test the area that you've defined to be scanned, and that's to just hit that little test button there. So we've done an OCR scan on this area that we've defined. We've named that little area document number, and what is the result? Invoice number 10001. Does that make sense? Yes, it does. Over here, what are we doing? We're going to be scanning line items. Let's do a test on that and see what we get. Quantity description, price total. One slow brewed Italian roast, £36, £36. One Superman lunch to go, £52. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's exactly what we've got here. But remember, when you're doing a batch scan, you don't necessarily have all the pages aligned exactly as the first one. So the idea would be to then add a few other pages. Alright, so if we're going to do a whole batch of documents, let's add another. So add page 4 and see how page 4 differs in alignment from page 1. And you notice that is the case. You see, actually quite substantial difference. Notice that. So you need to make sure that the areas that you've defined cover everything. Okay? Alright. Now you'll notice here there's a little bit of an overlap, eh? That overlap's a little big. I'm not too happy with that, because what happens if you test that? What are you going to get? You're going to get a little bit of junk as well as what you want. See, because it's not, you're only just trying to get that half of the date at the top there. So let's just move this down slightly. Okay. Move that down a little bit. Let's just click on it so we can test it. That looks better, doesn't it? Now we're going to try the other page. Alright, you have to just click somewhere on the page for it to refresh and move that around. Okay. Test scan, that's actually working. But you notice it's pretty close to the edge. I think I'd like to a little bit more to the right there, just to have a little bit more of that area. For the rest of everything out, it looks okay. So let's save that. That's going to be our layout. Now what have we done? We've defined particular areas on the document. We've given them names. Those names are going to be presented as the result, the output from this operation, and that output is going to be made available as a record set in this case. And that record set can be used in subsequent operations, and we'll see how that works. Alright, so let's say OK to that. The next step is going to be to update the database. Alright, we're going to do a little bit of logging just to check the account numbers that we've got. But what else are we going to do here? We're going to do a little operation here. Notice there's a variable variable called line items. And there's a little function which I've written and saved it under global functions. All it does is it selects between lines. So we want to select between line 1 and between line 3. Why was that? Because remember there were column headings in this document. Let's just go and have a look at the again to make sure. So if we go to results here, look at one of the pages, and we just zoom this down to 50% and get rid of that. Have a look. We've got quantity, description, price, and total as column headings really. So when we define this area which includes those things, we actually want to strip that out. Alright, so I've written a little script, VB script, to take that out of the text that results. Why would we not just simply move the box down? Well, if you look at that, the area between description and the column header description and the actual description of the line item is very small. For you to get that lining up every single time is going to be quite a challenge. Not very likely. So you might need to do a little bit of text parsing or text cleanup after your OCR scan. And that's in fact what we're going to be doing in this test, in this particular instance. So we're dropping off the column headers, and we're selecting from line 1 to line 3. We could of course make that line 9 if we like as well, but we don't have that many lines. So in fact, let's do that. Line 9, why not? Okay. Then what are we going to do with that? We want to save it into the database. So that's why we go here, and we're going to use again the file as our key. Barcode is not mapped because we've already done that, but we're going to get the document type, the document number, the customer number, and the line items we're going to put into our database. All things being equal, right? You notice that the line item is not going to come directly from the record set. It's going to come from that variable. Which variable? It's going to come from the variable that we defined here and populated here. There's the variable being populated from the database line items with the first line extracted. Okay, nothing confusing there at all. Right, now what we need to do is go and try it out. Remember, here we have a table, we have barcodes, but we have nothing else. Let's see what happens if we queue this task. Okay, there we go, it's running. And it's busy processing these documents. Okay. It's done 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We're nearly done. There we go. So it's done all 18 documents. Okay, and it's now complete and it's updated the database and everything. Let's go and see what has happened. Aha, that looks interesting. So we have document types, invoice, delivery note, invoice, delivery note, was that really just delivery? Why not delivery note? Split batch, that's a document with page number 14. Let's go and have a look if we've got a bug there or something. Bring this down to 50%, and in fact, yes, the document type was only delivery. So that's correct. And go back to our database again. Is there anything else that we notice which is a little bit funny perhaps? That all looks good. That all looks good. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, these are all sort of hidden off the side here because of the resolution of the screen, but let's just run a quick query against this so we can select those columns and see if they make sense. So far so good. Okay, that one's got a little bit of white space in the front. Oops. 2 magnets, 12 magnets. That's 12 magnets, yes, 12 paper clips and 12 thimbles, that's right. There's a bit of white space in between there, eh? So we might need to do a little bit of processing on the text just to remove white spaces out of particular fields, eh? Okay, that all looks good over here actually, doesn't it? Yeah, that all looks pretty good to me. And that of course will be as a result of that being page number 2, which didn't have any information in it that we could use. Alright, so that was quite an interesting one, and I think that worked pretty well. Thank you very much for watching. Next time what we'll do is we're going to have a look at What should we have a look at? OCR documents and output text file. Okay, so that's going to be the result of our whole document. So in the next video, we'll have a look at that one. Thank you very much.